This is episode 0013 of Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. And today we have the artist, Beth Forst, who is an award-winning artist. She has an international clientele, and she has paintings hanging in the Indiana gubernatorial mansion. She has quite a bit of renown. In fact, if you Google her name, you'll come up with a whole page of her artwork. It's just amazing. So I'm really pleased to have you here today, Beth. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm just going to get right to the point. We've got a question to ask right off the bat. What's the one thing you wish you had known before you decided to become an online entrepreneur?
Being an artist, I get to call my own shots. So the question that you asked me leads me down a road of regret. I don't do that. No regrets. So I don't look back on mistakes. I look ahead for opportunity.
Interestingly, as an artist, as an individual, the online world is pretty much unexplored. Do you find that there are greater opportunities for you to get exposure here than, say, just hanging up in a few art exhibits?
Oh, that's a tricky question because it's all in your mind. It's all in my journey with paint and art is never ending. It really is. I will continue to be inspired by things in my world. And that really is a parallel to the online marketing. It's a tool. It's basically a tool that you can set your own structure up. You can be your own person and find out what opportunities that will lead you to.
It's all about value.
It is.
It's a lot of attraction in work.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you want and you have a big why you're doing it. And the how just begins to reveal itself to you along the way in this digital world.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made and what did you learn from it?
Like regrets and mistakes, I do not spend a lot of time on them because I learned this maybe about 5 years ago when I started teaching others to paint. And mistakes are your friend. Mistakes, the more mistakes you make, the greater you become, the greater the power you find yourself, because you take those mistakes and you convert them into learning and knowledge and experience, and it gives you power.
The world is nothing more than a series of learning experiences. In my view, I've always kind of had the sense that somewhere on planet Earth, there's a place called central casting. And once you get through one set of problems and have them solved, central casting just sends you a whole new set because you're supposed to learn how to deal with that as well.
Yes. See, I have this idea for a high school class called Fix It 101. And you just bring in all of your mistakes, problems, broken things. And that would be the class mission, would be to figure out how to fix a car, change a tire, mend a broken relationship, all of that stuff. It's valuable.
That's a lot more productive, I think. There's like this world philosophy that says, if something's wrong, it must be you.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with anybody. Nobody's really broken or irretrievable.
They are not. Thank you for saying that, because I seem to be, you turn on the television and we're always sick, or we need a doctor to get us out of our bad diets in our life. If we just ignore all that and look outside at the world, everything out there has well-being. It strives, it's healthy, it's renewable, it's rejuvenating. So
it's really true. I always go back to the law of attraction, because for me, that really sums up a lot about what this universe is about and what I have done wrong in the universe. When I view that, I come to this conclusion that it is truly correct that What your inner world is all about is what you see in the outer world.
Right. It's true.
So when you fix your inner world, the outer world begins to reflect that as well.
Or just focus on the good, that we've been given, all the good that we've been given.
I think most people who are, I don't know, higher evolved, more insightful, I don't know the right term.
I have my days.
but they don't view themselves as ever failing.
Oh,
it's just been a learning. It's just been a learning curve. It's the insane people who just keep making the same mistake over and over again and thinking that, well, if I do the same thing again, it will work this time.
We've all done that. We all know that.
I've got a few T-shirts in my drawer on that subject. So what advice would you give somebody? I mean, you're an artist. There's a lot of people who want to be an artist, but what advice would you give somebody who is wanting to do something online and they kind of come to you and they say, I kind of want to do what you do, but not exactly what you're doing? What advice would you give me?
When people ask me that question, I always say, take your own advice, because they probably already have an idea. They're just searching for someone to confirm their own idea. I think that's when I'm seeking advice, I think about that. I've given advice out, and then it's like you see them having trouble trying to find the direction, and you kind of know for yourself your direction. You really do. You just have to stop and think about it. Take your own advice.
So stop seeking validation from somebody else. Just
absolutely.
Just trust your inner being.
Yes.
On what path it should be. Yeah.
We're a lot smarter than we think we are.
Yes, we are greater than the sum of our parts.
It's true.
It's very true. And I think a lot of people are afraid that they'll make a mistake.
Right.
And in the digital world, mistakes should be expected, because every mistake is a learning. You find the golden seeds of opportunity, the golden seeds of knowledge, and you move on. The people who don't grow in this life are not making mistakes.
Right, right. So go make one today.
Yeah. I mean, you're an artist. Have you ever started off a painting and said, I didn't write? And
I've thrown them in the river. I've thrown them in the street. Cars have driven over them. I burned them.
You know, that reminds me of Ernest Hemingway. He told a story one night on the Johnny Carson show late where he was explaining that he and Pablo Picasso had shared a room in Paris one winter. And he said, you know, Picasso would come home every day from painting and he would throw his paintings on the floor so that our feet didn't freeze. He said, he said, I must have walked over $100 million worth of paintings.
Exactly. I have paint on my socks.
Someday they may be worth a lot of money. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, think it, make it happen.
Yeah, think it.
Yeah. So what is the best resource that you have found to help support you online?
You know, I go back to Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction, because I kind of was into that just right before I started listening to her, right before I went on to the SFM, and realize that it's an inner journey. You've got to know your value. You've got to be able to stand on your own and take your own guidance, and it will lead you. It takes you.
This inner guidance, tell me a little bit more about how that works for you.
Inner guidance. I meditate daily. That we're all vibration. We're all energy. Everything in front of us is energy. I've also been listening to Alan Watts, who I absolutely adore. I'm kind of a philosopher, slight guru artist by nature. And they tell you that the world, and Deepak Chopra, I mean, I really love all of that on how we create our own reality. And what we create comes back in twofold, fourfold, tenfold. It's like the rule of giving. When you give to others, you start getting this stuff back. It's just amazing, and it builds momentum. But anyway, we're vibrations, and we have control over our thoughts, which when you were younger, you didn't think so. You thought you were just a part of this world and it happened to you. But now I feel that I have some, well, just the fact that I'm a painter and I seek beauty and I love to enjoy all kinds of beauty, all kinds of art. And when I do that, it keeps coming back. And just that thought, I send out into the world and it comes back. So I'm hanging on to that. It's important.
It's an important thing to hang on to because, again, it's your inner world being reflected out there.
Right.
People sit back and they talk about, well, Abraham Hicks, I don't even know who she is or what that is. And Alan Watts, I mean, really, you had to have been a child of the 60s to really know who Alan Watts was in some regards.
But man, he's popular now.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back.
He's got to come back.
Yeah. I love his whole thing about when people talk about the God thing, they say, oh, well, what about God and that? He says, it doesn't really matter. Water would still get you wet no matter what you call it. And
absolutely.
And I think that's an important aspect out there. So how about you and I both met online in a group where we are associating with other people who are like-minded. So we have like a mastermind that's going on, but at the same time, we're all at different levels and skills in various categories. And personally, I benefit from being in community. What's your opinion?
We're in COVID right now. We need community. It's killing me. I'm an artist. I'm a social being. So this whole thing has been you just seek it. And the mastermind powerhouse is fantastic just because we are all different. And the energy there just to want the best for each other and be helpful. We're only as good as our weakest link sort of thing. And it's just really a great connection. Yeah, good energy there.
You have to be around people who provide you good energy. It seems like if we start to resonate at a higher level. And as you do so, the people who are resonating at a lower level just tend to want to go. They just leave your circle. I can recall when I used to have to tell people to please leave, you're bothering me, and that would cause a creative fight. But as my level of energy and my inner world was getting cleared out, I just kind of noticed those people just gravitated away. So, I mean, this whole, again, law of attraction, being the person that you really truly should be, that you want to be, it all begins to happen as you correctly apply the principles. And I just loved how you said you meditate, because I just cannot see how anybody gets there without that concept of meditation. It's been around for thousands of years.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah. And a lot of people have this idea that if you go back into the ancient times, they're unsophisticated and they're blunt and they're not good thinkers. But au contraire, I really think that there's so much secrets of living well coming from them.
And mind science, literally, those people knew how to manage their thinking. They knew how to garnish their thoughts with virtuous action.
Revere. They revered where they lived and gave thanks to it.
And I think it's so funny that modern science is just barely understanding what they knew then.
I know.
It's amazing. So who are three people or three sources of information, or however you want to define it, that have helped you along your way in working in this digital world, and also just getting an understanding of how life should be directed?
I put my parents in there. I think I had an interesting upbringing. It was a good one, got everything I needed, but it was also one of benign neglect. You know, there was huge freedom. I remember getting on my bicycle when I was like 11 or 12 and just riding off. We would play in the fields and run around and ride bikes, come back about dinner time. And that sort of freedom was really creative. And I think as I got older, I was given a lot of freedom. I could have gotten in a lot of trouble, but did not. I knew it was there. It was very apparent. But it also gave me this idea that I'm sailing my own ship. I don't know if it gave me the thought that I could do anything, but it wasn't like there was someone expecting things out of me. I was relying upon my own wants and desires, I think.
And who else besides your parents that might have led you this way?
It's hard to define it into three. You know, I've met influential people throughout my life. And even during my jobs, I was looking at my jobs. I kind of ran away from home when I was about 19 and chased a boy and ended up in Tucson. I walked into this little curio shop and all of these women wanted to hire me. So I worked there part-time and they were like my extended family. It was just, they were in the right place at the right time, offering me what I needed. I was homesick and wasn't sure what I was doing, but it was the best place to be. And I think throughout my life, there are all these little islands of influence that you've been nurtured into a new direction, or you've been given confidence or experience or love or whatever. And it just led you on to the next phase. So there were many.
There were many. That central casting on planet Earth, they just sing through.
Yeah.
You get the lessons and you get some rewards along the way. It's just, yeah. So it just happens. It's the way life is. So there's a lot of myths about this career path, getting online. Is there any of them that you'd like to debunk?
That luck has shown upon me. I think that it's more than that. I think that it's just, like I said before, the series of people that have influenced me, and I knew intuitively that that's the right direction to go. And in some cases, I mean, just crazy things would happen to you and doors would open and you would have chance meetings with people that would lead you to a job. I mean, it's just a more intuitive way to live. You don't write a list of things to do and go out. That usually doesn't work for me, but there's no luck in it. There's central casting.
There's a lot of hard work. I mean, people
There
just
is hard work. Yeah, I'm not saying that I've just sat back and let things happen, but when you love what you do, you are in. That's all you need to do.
That's true.
You wake up in the morning and go, I want to do that. Or let's see what happens if we create this and let's try to market it there.
I always think of the thing about the letter. There was a typewriter, you'd write a letter, you would then address an envelope, you'd get a stamp on it, and you'd send it off to the post. And that was technology until about 1973, 74, 75. Yeah. Then in the late 70s, early 80s, some little 14-year-old kid came up with email and literally named it that, got the patents, and didn't want any money. Just have that concept and put it out there. By the 90s, the post office started complaining about the fact that there was a significant drop in mail. Part of the problem was the post office had an opportunity back then to charge for email. They offered them, do you want it? That'll never take off. That will never take off. So email was free, has been free. And the number of letters every day being generated, being sent out across the world. I mean, just think about just tiny leverage in technology has created so much more productivity, maybe more nightmares, but a lot of productivity across the planet. And here you are online, you are just leveraging technology to a global audience.
That's right. That's right. I didn't know that about the email.
I should have been a history professor. I mean, you're a very interesting woman. I like your art. I love the sailboats you do. I just watch those things all the time. I think they're great.
I love boats.
Those boats are great. So if you could step into my shoes and you said, Gary should have really asked me this question, what question would that be?
Would I have ever seen myself where I am?
Would you have ever seen yourself where you are, Beth?
No. Do I have to elaborate?
Yes, I was going to say, please elucidate.
Okay. You can't write a book on this. There's no guidebook to good living. You'd have to find out what appeals to you, and then you take a step in that direction. And you have no idea who you're going to meet, what you're going to make. Yes, the things that will happen.
It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Absolutely. And it's joyful. Yes. Thank God for it.
If your inner world is joyful, it's joyful.
Exactly.
If your inner world is misery, you'll find that too.
It's true.
I kind of like the phrase that I heard a few weeks ago where a person says, you should try this. And if you're still miserable, we'll refund twice your misery. Yeah, but it's true. People are afraid about doing something they don't understand or they don't know. And they think it's far more difficult than it really is. And quite frankly, the people who are successful are people who just jump in and then they work it out from there.
You can fail at what you don't like. Why not fail at what you do like?
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah,
I did feel that, but it is true.
The thing that I think about the digital world is there is no sense of failure whatsoever. You don't really fail. You're learning. It's just when you stop, when you quit, do you say, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. That's the only way you could truly fail.
But even with that failing, that sometimes may resonate you to try again.
Then you didn't quit, did you?
No, I didn't. No, I'm slow and steady. Yes.
Slow and steady.
I'm the goofball in the back that would flunk a few things, but then eventually I would figure it out. Who cares that I'm off schedule? Doesn't matter.
Nobody. In fact, you're not running a race against anybody but yourself here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I think the goal is to just be better at what you're doing today than you were yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, interesting lady, where and how can people get in contact with you?
Well, you can look up my website and see some of my paintings and sailboats. It is Beth Forst, B-E-T-H, Beth, Forst, F-O-R, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, bethforst.com.
Great. And people driving down the roads, please continue driving. We will put all that information in the show notes. You can grasp it at the end of your journey.
Yes.
I always have this thing about somebody looking for a pencil and crashing or something. I don't know why, but I just have that, maybe because I've done that, and not crashed, but I've been looking for something because I want to write down what somebody just said on the radio. So here we are. We're at that point where I offer everybody 2 uninterrupted minutes to say whatever they want to say that's on their heart. And Beth, your time starts now.
I think of this poem that I had memorized a long time ago. The poem has always been on a wall in me and my girlfriends. I grew up with Betsy, and we were best friends from like 6th grade on. And we both had this, and I memorized mine, and she hung it on the wall. It's called Desiderata. You can look it up. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a great way to live your life. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, be on good terms with all people, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. I've just forgotten all the rest, but it's worthy of reviewing, so please do.
I will say that the Desiderata was one of the first pieces of poetry that actually made sense to me in my life.
Yes.
And to think that it was written like in 16 something and hangs in a church in New England somewhere, just
Does it?
yeah, well, it did. I don't know if the church is still there. But
There's
the
several
Desiderata,
versions online, so you can find it online. Beautiful.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's been so good talking to you. I have enjoyed it. And I like your view of the world, how you see things and how beauty is so important to you. And as an artist, I can understand that. But as a person who doesn't have the eye or the skill, all I know is how to appreciate art, and I appreciate yours. So let's...
You are the link. When I see it and you connect to it, you are as much an integral part of the whole process. So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this episode of Gary's Glorious Golden Nuggets. Thank you for being here today. Please subscribe, forward the podcast to somebody you think that will enjoy it. And if you're interested in the digital world, I'll catch you on the next podcast. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.